The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon. Hello and welcome to the new channel. We are here not only to help you see the new you, but be the new you. I am Jesse Francis Rebustillo, live streaming from Marcelo Green Village, Paranaque City, and you are watching Season 8, Episode 131 of the HR Hotline. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, and we have to continue what we are discussing for 2 weeks now. What HR and leaders should do now that we are on a lockdown. But this time, we have some topics that we have to converse in particular. And again, I invited friends of mine who are seasoned HR. And I'm very sure they're already here in the room. So I'll start. What are the questions that we need to discuss in particular? One is, as gathered from the previous episodes, what should be the policies that should be reviewed and revised? What are the policies and guidelines and practices that should now be adopted? In particular, how about timekeeping? It's actually an irritant now. We have been discussing it, but what have you done with your timekeeping? If you're still doing what you were practicing before the pandemic, then you are actually, sad to say, left behind. Maybe you are lost, and I'm very sure it's just already stressing your human resources, your employees. The other one is on the rewards. The question actually is, who will be rewarded? Those that are working from home and those that are reporting to the office. By the way, there is a big difference between the preposition of working from home and working at home. I hope you'll have time to discuss that. If not, try to see and discern what it means. Anyway, nag-intriga pa ako. And then that one of engagement. What should be the guidelines or policies that we must actually issue now as far as engagement is concerned and performance? I remember Mark Hernandez, past President Jerry Plana have been zeroing in performance. That was mentioned, but this time let us discuss what really be the um, policies that you should look into. And of course, reporting. the process, the workplace. It is easier said than done. I've been doing webinars on this, but I know it's hard because we are now actually on a hybrid, our alternative working arrangement, work from home, virtual, distance. And the next one is, so be it. You know, even before the pandemic, past President Michel Cordero have been mentioning this. Will there be will there be HR in the near or in the far future? So the question now is, what are those functions that should be, for lack of any vocabulary, permanently or institutionalized to be actually working from home? I know there were already some jobs that were already working up from home before the pandemic. And we even call it, yesterday it was mentioned, that deskless, less desk, deskless positions. Actually, when I was in Inquirer, I was already doing that with my sales staff. I was telling them that I don't want to see them in the offices. Then the last topic that we need to discuss for this episode, we have been discussing about culture, but what actually the culture that we really have to develop now, and how? What will be the interventions? And these are, we have been discussing this for almost a week, and this is the second week. But let's really have a more concrete, a more, a clearer, a clearer uh, advice to HR and to leaders on what they should do on this. So let me see. We have here Jennifer Nuya. Jennifer is a friend of mine, and she's already also a host here in the new channel. Yes, Jennifer, can you post your your time slot so that they will also be watching your your uh, uh, shows here in TNC. Then we have here, yes, oh, welcome, my dear friend. Uh, we have been together time, time immemorial. Rosanna or Susan Vidal. Yes. Um, a direct later on, we have again to post the poster that she asked us to endorse. So we are already many here. My cousin is also watching, and she is actually Donald. A lot of our relatives, hindi naman a lot, a number of our relatives are getting sick. And then one of them, a cousin of ours, actually from the side of uh, Father Peter, and they used to be residing in Tabaco here in Las Piñas, and I cannot really go there. Uh, Father and daughter died of COVID. So yes, it's actually getting closer, and I'm so scared. I don't want to be one of the statistics. So that's why earlier in the morning, I was taking all the vitamins that I can take and all the supplements that I can take and the fruits and everything to make sure that my system is resistant. Okay, so I'll start. And then we have here Jennifer, and then we have here Susan. And we are still waiting for some of my invited guests to chat with us, to converse with us in the chat box. I will read your insights and then we'll go over it. So I'll start with the first one. These are the policies and the guidelines that HR and leaders should do. And I'll start with the time. Yes, we have to do something about how we reckon time now. How do we reckon time now? That one of the timekeeping, that one of the checking in and checking out, it is already an irritant. There are some apps, there are some systems wherein they can actually locate and then they can actually track. It's called a tracking system that employees can be uh, their time in and time out can be recorded. But I think we start with that first one on the processes of doing work. We are now working from home, and we, of course, subscribe and endorse work life integration. So, of course, it cannot be balanced that you have to work 8 to 5, 9 to 6, and you are seated in front of your laptop. But I know of some. I used to do a webinar with TransUnion, and these are actually a BPO. They have been actually hooked in their laptops for more than 16 hours. But usually the regular employees, you're not supposed to really be there because you're at home. You're supposed to cook. You're supposed to clean. And it is in your waking hours. So you have to look first on that. What will now be the guidelines on work? And I'm also teaching this in my webinars. A full, what do you call this? Part of the webinar, which is actually um, completed staff work. That means that there should be a change on the processes. And from that, there can what we call management by objectives. So it will now be results based. Then of course you have to do on how you're going to instruct, how you're going to coach. Then that after that, then you reckon the time. The problem here is because our mindset is still on the compensation, how we are going to reckon the salary, and it is still time bound. So how we really have to look into that. So we have here already Jennifer, we have here Susan. So I started with that. How we can really reckon. So it's not actually dive directly on how you're going to reckon time and then use that as basis for your payroll. You have to go start first with how are you now going to work at home. So share this, ladies and gentlemen. These are the thoughts that HR must do now. Now. That includes you and me. And you have to, it's a sort of a, a pseudo job analysis. You now have to analyze what is Jesse doing now as a host of a live stream or as a training consultant on a webinar. You have to pay me not on the traditional reckoning before the the pandemic or before the working at home. You have to consider now what are my preparations in coming up with a webinar. It's different. So that is me. How about your HR? How about your marketing? How about your sales? So it can just start with reckoning the time. And it's not even time management. And that's another story. So, do we have no insights here? Okay. Okay. Jennifer here posted, please watch Stories from the Fringe at TNC Live every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. So, she's actually just a few hours ahead of my Thursday episode. We'll be happy to join our conversation on diversity, equity, inclusion, and and belonging. Thanks for the support, PPJs. If please insist next week I have to attend. I like your topics. I really would like to work on. Can we spot on again, Jennifer Nuya's post direct? I really love that one, Jennifer, on diversity, equity, and inclusion. I have lots of insights and thoughts on that. And that is not even LBTQ. LBTQ. If we start from now, we can even have that here being discussed today. What shall we do with that? Not actually the discrimination. It has to be positive. This one, it's actually the engagement of this diversity. I hope we collaborate on this, Jennifer. It's not the negative thinking or paradigm that we always think of the bullying, the shaming, or the discrimination. No, it's the other way around. It's the outward or the inward on them and the outward mindset on us on how we are going to, what you call this, inspire the uh, the other one is discrimination. This one is the discretion. The discretionary motivation of this diversity. Of this diversity. Say you there is a discrimination between men and women in your organization. Maybe there is also a problem on the discretion of one to really be collaborative. So that is ay nako Jenny Fair. I will have a great discussion on this. Kasi the it's actually a tongue twister. The other one is discrimination, the other one is discretion. I love it. So we have here from Jennifer. Can we spot on the next post of Jennifer here? We are having a conversation. Yes, the boundaries between home and work have become blurred. That's true. Managers themselves need to be mindful of the time. They cannot expect employees to be on meetings which drag until 10 p.m. and expect their employees to remain mentally and physically healthy. Yes, that is why, spot on, Jennifer. That is why I told you time management is a different story. We can also discuss that. What will be now your we are still on policies and guidelines on time management, and this is one, and this is very important. Hello, HR leaders, HR people and leaders. What Jennifer has just mentioned is very trivial but important and essential. Since we do asynchronous meetings, let's actually have some guidelines on the time. On the time. So I think, Jennifer, what they can do is first agree on a common time that they should meet asynchronously and agree on the time that they will meet synchronously. And remember, the asynchronous is not actually boss to subordinate. You have to think that there should be time for subordinate unless they will do it what we call completed staff work. But if they have been used to collaborate, and which should actually we should endorse that they should be working on a teams, managers and HR must give your subordinates, your human resources to actually work too and provide them, if they are in Zoom, provide them the facility. If they are in Teams or in Google or whatever, if they're in Blue Jeans, but I think Zoom is nice, so you really have to invest on Zoom because you can have rooms. You can have rooms. I know Google Teams also have that. Or you can just ask them to do messenger chats, which I've just done earlier. But HR and leaders must set this. Must set this. So this is what I mean, but we should have come, if not policies, guidelines on how we are going to do work. You're going to tell me, oh, they know it already. No. I've just read again what PP Ernie Cecilia wrote in Manila Times on this hybrid. And actually, the guilty ones, the culprit, are the leaders. And he was mentioning even HR, the change in the mindset. And this is actually timekeeping. Can we again, yes, Jennifer again, before we go to Susan Vidal, uh, In France, sending email and calling your employees outside the work hours is frowned upon. I wonder why in the Philippines it is an expectation to be on call. Yes, yes. Because we know we should be actually, what are the guidelines for work life integration? So, that is actually the last thing that we're going to discuss in this episode, Jennifer. I mentioned of what will be the culture that you should develop. There will be some um, other views on this. Other views will say, if you have time, you can still work on time, but you know that is actually overtime, and this is actually under discretion of the individual. If you still would like to work after office hours, but it will be burdensome. It will be burdensome. So, what is that culture that you wish to develop? Jennifer here is mentioning about in France, it is being frowned upon. So, when are you supposed to exchange emails? And this is another one. The culture of using the email as a chat. No, emails is not supposed to be a venue for chat. You use your digital what do you call this? Uh, Platform, your gadgets for your chat. Just imagine when during before pandemic, there were there were office mates of mine in in Inquirer that at this time they will email a friend, kain na tayo. At sasagot naman yung isa, yes, sige na, hintayin kita sa likod. Just imagine using the email for that. Oh, well, anyway, that's personal. But we must have guidelines on that and culture on that. Why did they not just call? The phone is just at the tip of their fingers, but they still love to email. So those are little things, but that actually means a lot now because we are now working from home. Can we spot on Susan Vidal's insights and thoughts? Direct? Thank you, Susan, for joining us. And can you also request other uh, friends of ours to join? Agree with you, Jesse, on results based management instead of monitoring time because HR does not have the system in place. It is always better to have a mutual understanding and acceptance on the flexi time when they are at work, not 9 to 5 like in the office. If that is not possible, sometimes work where they need to be done alone can be done where their children are sleeping already. The employees can block time when they will not be distracted by family and inform their superior on spot on Susan. And I know you came from the BPO industry. The BPO industry actually using this. Yes. So there should be now guidelines coming from HR or coming from leaders on how they are going to do work, the process actually to be to be clear about it. Everybody should review and look into how you are going to work, how you're going to process. So what I'm thinking now is go back into your job descriptions, go back into your job analysis, just a mere review, and then input what are the things that are done, the new things that are being done, and then come up with guidelines. HR leaders, supervisors, and managers, do it, please. You know, I am very updated because I have group chats and I have webinars and I converse with my students. Actually, this is a currently the workplace problem. And sometimes, for lack of the vocabulary, people will just say it mental health. No, it is not actually mental health. It's actually they don't know how to do, how to perform work now because it was actually a disruption. And the worst is the people that are expected to be not disrupted are the one is or are actually stunted. And these are the leaders because they still feel that they can go back to the face to face. So this is just on the time. This is just on the work process. Jeremy and Susan, it's only you who are here in the room who are actually conversing with me. Let's discuss on engagement and performance. What will be the guidelines on engagement and performance? Okay, we already have. I thank you very much. My dear friend Jerry is here. Jerry, I expect you to be with me on. But you mentioned that you'll be in your farm. Ako si Jerry ha. Invite me in your farm later on. Yes, yes. Can you spot on past President Jerry Plana? Jerry, Susan is here in the room. Hey, HR should actively contribute to the redesign of offices as a result of hybrid work arrangements. That is a very strong point. Redesign the offices. This arrangement can vary from company to company, which is why there should be guidelines. Kasi siyempre, you are right, Jerry. It depends on your needs and depends on your processes and depends on the scale, how big you are. So you cannot really cut and paste. The new office design should incorporate safety and collaboration. Meeting rooms should be designed in such a way that both those attending in person and virtually will be able to interact well. This requires complete redesign of meeting rooms. So yan, nitty-gritty, very, very, very exact, pero dapat gawin. I know that. On the safety side, aside from social distancing, air quality should be ensured since Delta is already, yes, here. Yes, sure, Jerry. That is really very true. Can we finish what Jerry, because Delta is already uh, redesigned on the safety side, distancing, air quality should be ensured since Delta is already airborne. Yes, yes. So not even the process, but this one on the redesign, the the physical redesign of offices. You know, Jerry, I mentioned that in one of my classes. I told them, HR, you should be working from home and give your offices to those who are actually needed to report, or give your offices to those, what do you call this, hybrid meetings. I remember before, Jerry, IBM was actually doing this already. Nako, bata pa tayong dalawa. Narinig na natin yan yung IBM was actually doing. Kasi telework yung IBM. Susan, can you remember? Telework yung IBM. And then they can actually meet. That's the first time that I remember. They can meet anywhere. And then the last time, in 2019, I was actually going to some of, what do you call this, I don't know what is term. Can you help me, Jennifer? What is the term for that? Somewhere in Ayala, there are places there where in uh, around 50 companies are actually having offices there, but these are just long tables, and you meet somewhere else and you converse. But you know, I like what Jerry mentioned to us, that right now you should be doing the redesign. You know, Jerry, I did once. I went to one of my consultancy. It's a construction firm. Then I nagsumilip ako, Jerry, and it is so funny. Kasi what they did was put all these plastics, and then, but you know, wala nang distancing. And you know, bakit hindi pumapasok yung iba, but the tables are still there. So I was telling the HR, remove already the tables and give it just, yung para bang hotel, what do you call that? Also, can you help me? What is the right term for that? Yung para bang tolling ba yun? Yung para bang, yung upuan na ito na ginagawa ko, after I leave, somebody can use this also. Parang ganun ang sinasabi ko. Ay hindi, para ba talagang they are still clingy, clingy to their tables, and some of them are not actually reporting. You can just imagine in government offices, the rooms of the directors, the rooms of the division chief, big, big rooms. Yun ang sinasabi ni Jerry. We can do away with this and then convert that into meeting rooms. Pero kasi yung mga asynchronous, there is a way. Pero ang tama yung sinabi ni Jerry, a place wherein the connectivity is nice. Okay, can we spot on after Jerry? Ang daming nag-comment ha. I'm looking for it. So after Jerry, we have here Jennifer. Leaders need to broker collaboration of cross-functional and cross-cultural teams. Yes, this is what we were discussing earlier with Jennifer. Leaders must broker collaboration of cross-functional. Ito na nga tinatawag na matrix ka na or dapat, di ba matrix? Yung matrix, the subordinates can report to whoever yung adaptability, whoever is actually in charge or the project in charge. Hindi na dapat yung mayroon pang mga bureaucracy or we have what you call naman a hawcracy. Ito naman a hawcracy is, nakuha ko yan kay Jerry, hindi pa ako napakatalino. Ang mga sinasabi ko po, galing yan kay Jerry. No. Also Tito Puangko. So it can be matrix. It's coming from the subordinates. It can be how crazy am I pronouncing it properly? If it's coming from the top na nagaano ka yung parang ikaw ay leader tapos you're also hindi wala kang ma-delegate, you're also functioning. So parang na rin 'yan. Para na rin tawag nun matrix. So ang isa nga palang Jerry gagawin is review and policies and guidelines on the structure. Galing po yan kay Jennifer at kay Jerry. Diba? Kasi dapat makikita na ngayon yung mga, I mentioned it, yung mga reporting. Kasi that can now be what you call bureaucracy. Yung gaya yung pagpirma. Kung pwede naman dumiretso na magpapirma, just imagine yung staff, pupunta pa dun sa staff, magpapaalam pa sa isa, parang pumirma yung isa, at babalik na naman doon. So yun, nakikita mo yung process, the tedious process and the cycle. Can we spot on Mark Henrik? I thank you, Mark. Alam mo si Mark is actually busy, but you know, he's a friend of mine. Mark, I know you are actually doing a lot of work in the board, and yeah, thank you for joining. Ito si Mark, alam ko kung bakit nandito yan kasi gigil na gigil siya to help. And they know the intention, just like Pipi Jerry and tatlo na tayo Twitter and si Jennifer. What we are doing is actually give our thoughts and our insights so that we can actually influence HR and leaders. Okay, so after Mark, we have Jennifer. Leaders need to think intentional and act international and act local. Yes, it's actually try to think on what is being done internationally or yung global, and then use it now. Alam mo, Jennifer, hindi ko yan naiintindihan kung bakit yung iba nakakapag-Netflix, hindi nakakapag-online mass, nakakapag-Netflix, hindi man lang tumingin-tingin sa mga updated information sa Google. Ako nagbabasa, pareho tayo. Di ba sinabi ko sa iyo, Jennifer, that I do research. So yun na nga eh. What is being done, it's not actually you copy, it's actually benchmarking. You know, I am not actually endorsing. You try to call Jerry Plana kasi Jerry Plana is with IIP, and these are actually yung what they call the international standards. Kunin mo lang ninyo kung what is being done from Jerry, and from that malalaman na ninyo. So if you're going to watch this later on, we're giving you ideas in how are you going to upgrade, to calibrate what you're doing. You Google, you research, and you call on people, and one of them is nandito, or you call on Mark. Mark is actually an HR of a company is actually updated. So that ay yung ginagawa mo tama. So going back yung structure nga. So let's go to yes. Can we move on direct? We have here from Mark Hernandez that one if before yeah. Pero may nasabi si Jennifer, co-working spaces. Okay, yung kay Jennifer muna. Thank you, Jennifer, for helping me. Co-working spaces. So, I have that. Thank you, Jennifer. I have that before. There are actually, somewhere in Ayala, mga apat yun eh. Co-working spaces. Now, ito yung sinasabi ni Jerry. You come up with co-working spaces in your offices. So you have to redesign. Ang Jerry nga, malalim yung sinasabi ni Jerry kanina. Ang alam mo, Jerry, dapat titingnan niya yung process. Yung pag-in and out, dapat may isang entrance, may isang exit. At yung entrance, dun dapat yung flow ng work na yung pabalik-balik. I can remember offices wherein they even have internal messengers. Baka yan ang carrier. Grabe na ako kangarag, no? Baka yan yung carrier. So HR must really look into, but hindi na ngayon kasi we're still thinking of face-to-face. Ang sinasabi ni Jerry is really look into that workplace in particular. Pero ang iniisip mo na yung hybrid, that they just go there for meetings. They are not really there to stay. Yung AWA is alternative work arrangement. You report manage one MWF or TTHS, hindi yun eh. The hybrid is that you just report there for a compelling reason because you need to be face-to-face. Kasi baka naman sinabi natin na nawala na yung mga MECQ, ECQ, and then you actually insist again for face-to-face interviews, wherein actually now you can do face-to-face interviews. So let's go to Mark. Ang sabi ni Mark, if before, yes, I've read that, Monica. Yes, sabi ni Mark, yes, if before we care about ergonomics as part of our designs in the workplaces, now we care first with safety and health. Spot on. Right, Mark? So, kung doon napaka-arte tayo ng the height of the table, the chair, the backrest of the chair, tingnan muna natin is health and safety at tingnan natin yung process at tingnan natin yung distance at tingnan natin yung ventilation. Actually, pwede ka nga talagang makasuhan yan kasi I know sa OS, di ba Mark, sa OS, mayroon yan eh. Yung, kahit na yung illumination, kahit na yung ventilation, dapat mayroon. Di ba? Alam mo yung nakakatakot ngayon, if you are actually seated, doon right directly on the aircon vent, kasi alam natin that the airborne virus is brought brought by the aircon vent. O di ba noon, ang gustong-gusto talaga umupo sa harap ng aircon vent kasi mainit. O paano yan ngayon? At talaga dapat mayroon kang exhaust. May exhaust. So you have to look into that. Thank you very much. Then we have Susan here, the BPO. Welcome, Susan. Susan, parati ka nang sali sa amin na the BPO industry has been in this mode since it started except for the call center agents. I know. Kasi ang call center, I have my son here, Susan, yung fiancé niya ay working with a BPO. Ay hindi nga napakapunta na, hindi namin pinapapunta I dot on her, pero kasi sabi ko nga, and she's actually, sabi niya, wag kasi I go to the office. Pero very much, what do you call this? Ang BPO, ngarag na ngarag din sa safety. Kasi sabi nila, they are actually on a distance ngayon and then they're not even allowed to converse and then eat together. There are some people are actually very particular and if they eat, it's actually on a distance. So, takot na takot kasi if one gets sick, it's about productivity. So, let's have Jennifer again. Jennifer, shared sitting. Yes, shared sitting. Thank you, Jennifer. Matanda na si Lolo, kaya may oras yung aking mga mahirap na mag-recall. Yes. So, ang gustong sabihin, yung a desk should be available and that can be shared by a number of people. I know this kasi that was really a novelty before ng IBM. And at that time, hindi ko yan manti. You know, I was an HR before. So that was 2000 to around 2004, 2005. IBM was actually doing that, Jennifer. And I have a friend na nasa IBM, I forgot the name, na HR siya. And then she invited me actually. Oh no, she invited me actually na doon nga ang isang upuan parang sa BPO, di ba, Susan? Seat yung first, what you call this, the first batch yung morning, then another one will take that seat in the afternoon. So yun na nga eh. Yun ang dapat gawin. Yun ang sinasabi ni Jerry. We have to look into that. Considering now the hybrid or the work from home. So can we continue before we have the break? We have here Mark, agree with Jennifer. Matrix, anong sinabi ni Jennifer before? Can we look for, may sinabi si Jennifer before? Ang sinabi niya, agree with when the matrix model is now being practiced, better option for lean organization. I-spot on natin si Jennifer, direct about that one on the matrix. Anyway, so yes, Mark, yes, I agree with that, na dapat matrix na ngayon kasi we have to do away with red tapes and bureaucracy. Yes. The boundaries between home and work have become blurred. Managers, yes. So this is the last one, and after this we have the break from Jerry Plana. No. There is pala something a post coming from Mark, paying it forward, sir. Yeah. Yan nga, Mark. Alam mo, Mark, nakikita ko yung sarili ko sa iyo. Ganun yun. Yung para bang, bakit ang kulit-kulit? Kasi yun na nga, we would like just to share. Ako noon pa, alam niya ni Jerry, wala akong yung ano doon, yung I keep my technology or the things that I know sa akin, anong gagawin ko nun? Okay, so Jerry, si Jerry here, okay, last post that we will read before the break. And then after that, we read about kay Susan. Culture building is a hybrid work setup will entail behavioral change from leaders. Leaders should lead by inspiring people through a noble purpose. Being transparent means leaders continually giving information they need so that they do a good job. Leaders allowing people to try out new ideas and above all, naming people love what they do above all. Anyway, these are competencies that are needed to build a strong culture in a hybrid work environment. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go back on this because actually Jerry here is sharing already what is the last portion of the episode, which is how we build the new culture in the workplaces. So let's have the break first. Direct. Okay, let's have that poster wherein we will invite our viewers. TNC is a live streaming platform of online shows for people on the go. Our mission is to become a community where passionate people accept each other, share inspiration, and promote positive transformation. Don't forget to always watch and support HR Hotline 3 times a week. And also that show of Jennifer and Ria, yes, every Thursday. Okay. Then more upcoming shows to follow at TNC now on Facebook, YouTube, and other social media platforms. Do you reckon we have the poster that we wish to endorse? This actually came from Susan. Yes. We sent it to you last time. Yes. So we are inviting you to actually join and register to managing risk and protecting what is important. It's a financial education series, and we need that most now. Okay, let's go back to our conversation. I can see that Mami Telma Alana is here. She is a a member of the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers. Thank you, Mami, for being here. We just had a meeting yesterday and it was fun. The incoming president, Tony Miranda, was there, and the founder, Lloyd Luna, was also there, giving us new directions for the Philippine, uh, no, the Association of Professional Speakers. Pops. Okay. So we also have here Bebet. Bebet, can you post? Bebet is a cousin of mine. She is actually now a member of the board, but she's still with PulseCon and very much engaged with the PIMAP chapter in Tarlac. Bebet will be interviewed at 2 o'clock. Bebet, can you post and then invite our guests to watch your interview this afternoon at PulseCon's event. Okay, so can we go back to what Jerry posted earlier? Uh, Direct? Yes. Culture building in a hybrid work setup will entail behavioral changes from leaders. Actually, that's the third topic that we are supposed to converse. Culture building. Nasabi ko yan, Jerry. In a hybrid work setup. Diba? What should be the culture that we have to develop? Leaders should lead by inspiring people through a noble purpose. Ito na yan sinasabi ni Jerry, yung tanong ko. Being transparent means leaders continually giving information they need so that they do a good job. So ang gustong sabihin nito ni Jerry, yung leaders should be hindi transparent, not even transparent leadership. That is the culture dapat na makukultivate now. Kung paano dapat mag-isip ang leaders and ang HR on what intervention that they have to do. Siguro, Jerry, we have to give them an idea kung dapat siguro mag-ano muna sila. Mag-come up with some guidelines, mag-meeting muna on how they can really change their mindsets and really start practicing transparency. Kasi nasa hybrid eh. Then, good job. Leaders allowing people to try out new ideas. Oh, that is another culture. Ang mahirap nyo, how are you going, what will be your intervention that you actually is open. You are open to innovation, to creativity. So may iba yung thinking process in the workplaces. So leaders allowing people to try out new ideas. Nako, Jerry, this will entail a lot of mindset, change in mindset. Remember, that was my theme when I was president. Unlock your mindsets so that you can have value. And you know, I do that in my webinars. I have a lengthy discussion on this. You start with your inward and outward mindset, your mindfulness, and then you go on into your fixed and growth mindset before you can positive. Can we still spot on Jerry? Because I would like to look on what he posted. So that's another leaders allowing to try out new ideas. Ito na yung sagot kong tinatanong kay, what are the new culture that has to be developed? Ang tanong lang nito, Jerry, let's help them how they can start to intervene, maybe through the coaching or to the mentoring, or I don't know kung pagpaturuin tayo doon. And above all, naming people who love what they do. Ito pala kanina, nabulol po ako, sorry ha. Naming people love what they do. Kasi yun nga yung the difference between yung nag-discriminate ka, ito discretion. Ito yung gusto ko. So the culture that leaders must do now is actually, nakikita ko, Jerry, the foundation of this is try to look into the profile. Leaders must know who their subordinates are and must be able to know what are the things that they would like to do. And then from that, titingnan niya kung how they are going to make work arrangements and collaborate and make teams, kung titingnan niya kung sino talaga yung may gusto noon. Ang mahirap nito kung hindi mo alam and there was a problem in your recruitment before na ang nakuha mo talaga ay hindi capable. So at this time, baka mag-upskilling, reskilling ka, which I'm doing to two organizations now. I just did an upskilling webinar to one organization, sa big TV organization, wherein nag-umpisa nga ito ng completed staff work, or even reporting on what to do. Yung to do, tinuro ko yan, Jerry. Yung to do, yung kay yung kay Franklin and Covey na to do. Now, you have to set aside yung Jerry, yung what are the yung quadrant, yung Q2. Tinuro ko yan because the zillennials now, they don't know about it. Yung akala nila yung to do are the regular things that yung para bang pagkain is a to do. Pagkain is actually a part of your routine. Dapat na-identify on that day what is the to do. So tinuro ko yan, lady, and it took me siguro an hour really just to convince the group kasi interactive. And what are the particular to do of a particular job in a day? In a day. Para ba sa akin, kasama na sa aking routine is gardening. Pero ano ang aking to do? Ang aking to do is yung aking Monstera, ikakat ko at gagamitin ko. So I have some priorities and what will be my to do today. Isa lang yan kasi I am actually doing what I teach. Hindi pa pwede na i-garden. Ang laki ng garden ko, mabubuang ako kung anong i-garden ko. So dapat, but it's a routine na dapat mag-water ng plants. So doon ko na sila na-convince kung paano gagawin. But you have to do what is the to do today. Tanggalin ko yung mga bees, putakti. That was the other day. Hanggang ngayon, hindi pa natatanggal. So that is already what do you call this? Something that is already lagging. Diba? A back work. Ang tanong ko nga, should you prioritize something that you haven't done in the past? So yan, alam mo, Jerry, dapat tuturuin yan. Kaya importante, can you go back to Jerry? Kasi hindi pa ako tapos. Naming people love what they do. These are competencies that are needed to build strong culture in a hybrid work environment. So ladies and gentlemen, for all HR, try to get it from Jerry. Try to get it from Jerry. And then ituturo ko ito ngayon. So these are the cultures. Apat ang nakikita ko rito. Inspiring people to noble purposes. Mahirap ito kaya you have to start with the mission and vision and then their objectives. To the job description. And being transparent, mahirap din ito kasi magkakaroon ka ng bagong ngayon, leadership development program. And then giving information they need to be, and this is now your communication. Giving information they need to, so they have to do the good work. Ito na yung communication, na pat on the back, ito na yung reward. So ito, pang-apat is allowing people to outlet new ideas. So ladies and gentlemen, may pang-lima nga naming people love to do. So kung tatanungin mo, these are actually nuggets And these are will be facets of an OD that you can do. So kung magtatanong ka, actually Jerry, my students are asking me, Sir, ano ba dapat ang gagawin na culture building? Marami kang sinasabi. Ito na yon. Let's spot on yon. So ang sabi nga yun, just read between, not even read between the lines. Be inspired of these phrases, and from there you start coming up with your culture development. Pero yung kung paano ma-intervene, ayan, pag-usapan pa natin yan sa Saturday kasi nasa screen wala si Jerry. Tanungin natin si Pipi Obet at si Pipi Obet at si Ida Rene at si Michelle. Okay, so let us continue. May ano dito, can we spot on Susan? Susan, on engagement or company, the foundry start our day with a 1-hour daily morning devotion at 7 a.m. Oh, this is a strategy actually, Susan. Because when you require them to really be awake, wake up at 7 p.m. because you have already your session, nakikita mo na nandyan na sila. So participation is although involuntary, pero nakikita mo na sila kung sila talaga ay on time. So you can come up with ways wherein people can be engaged. Okay, and then we can spot on the next one, still coming from Susan Vidal. Then it is followed by wellness workout from 8 to 7. Zoom to address their physical wellness. So ito na yung ginagawa na, ang tanong ko, how can we really come up with activities? So ito na yung sinasabi, then you can just come up with the guidelines. Very subtle, but actually it is strategic and it is purposive. Ang sabihin na natin, because for your mental well-being, every day or every other day, there can be session. Siguro ako Susan, can be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays can be on spirituality. Then TTHS can be on sports. But at least nakikita mo na nag-check in. And it is voluntary. Makikita mo yan yung hindi engaged. Yung hindi nag-attend, then huwag mo naman pagalitan. Ito naman yung bibigyan mo ng synchronous. So you really have to be innovative and very, very sensitive on what are being done. Hindi na po yung magko-compel. Para bang attendance is required. No. Just like with POPs. Diba, Ma'am Telma and Jennifer, what we discussed with Lloyd yesterday? Diba? We don't actually compel them to actually come up with the payments, or they can be an installment kasi we understand it is pandemic, or we don't actually require them. Ang sabi lang natin, they have to be there. They have to be engaged. Hindi lang seen, mag-like man lang. Kasi nagsinga, hindi man lang mag-like. So ganun din kina Susan. Kahit na hindi siya nag-Zoom, at least lang naman nag-open at nagsabi, hello. Diba? I'm not feeling well. So makikita mo yung kanyang discretion to be engaged. Right, very nice. Then we have here, what else? After Susan, we have Jennifer. Ang dami na pala. We have Jennifer here. I'm sorry, every after week, our TND offers free webinars where they invite thought leaders, expects to speak relevant topics, especially during this pandemic. Right? Okay, ito naman for their mental well-being. Is there any post before Susan that we need to read? This one from Jennifer. Agree, Pipi Jessie, gonna start stalking. Yes. Yeah. And then of course, isama mo ako dun sa stock, tayong tatlo. Yes. Okay, kung Susan, i-offer, isama mo ako dun sa mga webinar, pero mahal po ako. Then we have all from TNC. Then what is the next one? That is the next post. We have here from Bebeth. From Bebeth here. Ayan, from what promoting the culture, continue building continuous employee development and succession plan. What was that before Mark? Can we before Mark? From Bebeth also muna. Bebeth. Yes, for me, Sa Mark, for me, we have to develop, lead with the heart. Ang sinabi ni Bebeth is lead with the heart. Yes, Cousin Bebeth. You really have to be, what do you call this, authentic. Yung lead by the heart is actually sincere and authentic. Hindi ka fake. Then sabi nga ni Mark, ang sinabi ni Mark, ang sagot ni Mark doon, can we read what was the response of Mark? For me, we have to develop the culture of people first. Agile, innocent. Mark, isa-isay natin. People first. Importante po yung people first. And only it's easier said than done. But nowadays that we are in the pandemic, dapat people first muna. Because you do not know if somebody is not actually well on what is happening. So people first. Di ba VUCA, volatility, uncertainty. Yung antidote sa uncertainty is understanding. Since it is very uncertain, you have to understand. At sinabi sa atin ni Covey, seek first to understand, then to be understood. And that is actually Saint Francis. Kaya very right si Mark Hernandez. People first. And that is actually Q2. So it's actually leading first before managing. Ano yun ang gustong sabihin niya na? Malalim po itong sinasabi ko, leading first before managing. Ang marami sa atin, we manage first, and at its mea culpa, yan ng mga maraming HR, you manage first before you lead. And there is a big difference between leading and managing. Can we spot on again si Mark? Kasi tatlo yung sinabi niya. That short post is really very deep. Direct, please. No. Before that, yung kay Mark, yes. For me, we have to develop the culture of people first, agile and resilient. That agility, it has to be taught. A lot of people are using that, but they are not actually practicing agility. The agile thinking. Ang lahat ay still doing their perspective is actually doon pa rin sa sa what do you call this? Sa face to face. Yung agility is not even technology. Agility is a mindset. It's an agile thinking. It's how you react to things. And one of which na mention ni Jennifer kanina, the time management that you do in dealing with your people. You have to be agile. Your thinking agility is not even being fast. Hindi. Although you need to be, you have to be, the reaction should be there. But agility is just using all the thinking now, which is actually creative thinking, systems thinking, and strategic thinking. So agility, and then the next one that was sinama ni Mark, kasi ito po yung inano natin, what are the cultures, and before that direct agility and resilience. Napakalalim ni Mark. I know ginagawa ito ni Mark sa kanyang organization. Yung isa pa si resilience. Di pa, yung tinitingnan natin, resilience that you have already experienced it, resilience as pliant as the bamboo, resilience that because you're going to bounce back or bounce forward, hindi po bounce back bounce back, mahirap po kung ikaw ay nagbobola at nag-bounce back sa'yo yung bola, masakit po sa ilong. Dapat yung bola mag-bounce forward. Nakita ko yan. I'm watching the Olympics 2020 in my Signal TV. Kung nakikita ko yung bounce back, ay, sa mukha talaga bumabalik yung bola. Dapat bounce forward. So resilience is actually bouncing forward. Ang dali-dali niyan sabihin, pero mahirap yang gawin kasi yun na nga ang sinusulat dyan na nabasa ko kay PP Ernie Cecilia is that dapat yung mga leaders ang unang magkaroon ng resilient mindset. Yun. Then we go now to the next post of Mark here. Yes, good afternoon daw galing po kay, yes, Apple Manansala, our executive producer. Good afternoon. Thank you for watching. Then sabing dito ni Mark, yes. Hello, Ma'am Apple. Sorry, I was not able to really be I appeared in the meeting yesterday because I was also doing a chat with my client. You know, I am a consultant, and every MWF, I do that. I were actually working on the structure, and while I was listening, but I listened to everything yesterday, Ma'am Apple. So while promoting the culture, continue building continuous employee development. O that's another, pang-apat na ito binigay ni Mark. The culture, the learning culture, the continuous employee development. Di ba kasi lahat ngayon nasa work from home. And nakala nila ay, ano, what do you call this? Bakasyon. Ay, hindi, uy. Hindi, uy. Kahit may ka nakabakasyon, then they may have to make it productive. Now is the time for you to learn. Kaya nga sabi ko nga, kaya nga ako busy. A lot of people are getting me to do webinars. Diba? Kasi this is the time to learn. Dapat meron kang, sabi nga dito ni Mr. Mark, building continuous employee development. So this is the time na mag-come up ka ng the proper way of coming up with the program. You know, I have with ECOP now a webinar on effectiveness of training, evaluating training effectiveness. And it's different. It's not only the ROI, it's not only Kirkpatrick that I am looking into. It's actually measuring the process, measuring the fulfillment, measuring the everything. So this is the time that you have to look into that. You know, this is the time that you have to align your learning and development or training and development or talent development to your succession plan. So at this time, makikita mo na who are the people, from the performers or from the human resource, who are the people that you need to develop for succession plan. And then come up actually with the programs. Kasi may oras ka magpunta doon. And this is also the time that you profile. Kasi needed yun eh. We have all the luxury of time, then you can profile. And then, sa mga training naman, this is the time that you can do it. Kasi mura. Hindi ka magbabayad ng transportation, hindi ka magbabayad ng lodging. Just imagine when I was invited before for the face-to-face, say in Baguio, they have to pay for my transportation, they have to pay for my lodging. But now that they are getting me on, mas mura. Tapos binabarat ka pa. Di ba? Pops. Ayun. Sa Pops pala, I would like to mention this. We would like to inform everybody, especially the HR, huwag naman tratuin na para bang free ang mga trainers at ang mga speakers ngayon. Para bang nakakalimutan nila na may buhay din yung speakers and trainers. That includes me, that includes Jerry, and that includes everybody here. You have to budget and pay the hosts, the what do you call this? The trainers and the speakers. Kasi if I prepare one webinar, it takes me around 2 weeks to prepare for an 8-hour or a 12-hour difference. Kasi dapat, ngayon afternoon sessions. Hindi mo pa pwedeng diretso eh. So you have to look into that trainers and speakers prepare. O yun. That is actually sa reward. Napasegue tayo doon ha. So, and then sabi dito ni Mark, building continuous development and for the succession plan. And this is, so dalaway po ito ha. The culture of, it's a learning culture. Kasi dapat adaptive learning, self-led learning ngayon. Aside from this, the one that yung mga webinars. So HR and leaders must already instill on that on the adaptive learning. And the other one is the proper culture on succession. Hindi po replacement, yung para bang iniisip ng assistant siya na ang masusunod. Hindi. Actually, ang bagong design ngayon, wala na pong mga assistant. Hindi po. So we continue. We have here from Jennifer, thanks to, can you spot on But, thanks to highlighting PP Jesse, we need to start with the right assessment of the current culture to get clear of that's what's important and what drives success for organization. Humanize the organization. Right, Jennifer? Right. We need that. We need that now kasi nakita this is actually the positivity of the pandemic na squeeze in not wala why in the face to face pala although we meet face to face hindi pala humane. Diba ang ganda ng aking pronunciation? Hindi humane. Diba you put an E to human resources, it should be humane resources. Hindi. Okay, so agree, Susan. Susan, sabi mo mayroon kang sasabihin. Can you post it before we end? I will just finish this kasi nag-overtime na tayo. We have to, can we spot on, I lost 3 kilograms due to Zumba. Then we go to Jennifer Nuya. By agreeing on the organizational culture aspiration, we can plan and action steps to make them happen. Jennifer, can you be around on Saturday? I want you to be in the screen para makita nila the beautiful Jennifer Nuya. Then, kasama natin sina PP Obet. And then, Jennifer, culture change is a process one step at a time. That's right, by people at all levels of the organization. We need to be patient with each other as we go through a transition. Yes, you know, the basic OD is from point A to point B. From the point A to the point B, from the baseline to what you want, it takes time. It takes time and it takes a lot of effort. So Jennifer, that is right. Jennifer, baka hindi mo alam, isa ako sa mga unang proponents ng OD. Diba? Hindi po ako OD-OD-yan. Pero I'm not very... Then we have Susan Vidal. Kaya kasama ko yan sina Susan. Agree, Mark. Our people are the most important resource. And then we have Monica. It's overtime na. Then we have Mark. I'm just reading, Monica. Have to leave, Sir Jesse. Yes. Mark, thank you very much. See you on Saturday. Then we have Mark Hernandez. Thanks. Yes. And then we have Rosanna Vidal. The last one, si Rosanna, next Saturday. Sige. Susan, I will check with the team. I would like you also to invite you in the screen. So we have here si Pipi Obet na si Michelle. Can we have Susan and then we have Jennifer. That's a screen tayo. Then we continue. We can have a conversation on the chat box for our other season HR and leaders. So there goes, ladies and gentlemen. 1 hour is not enough. 1 hour is not enough for our conversation here. And I am not yet satisfied. Up to next week, our theme will be what HR should do while on a lockdown. But you know, we are already transitioning and what to prepare. If you have been following this, try to check on the new channel. For the past 4 episodes, we have been discussing what to do. And I would suggest you watch it because not for my what do you call this, comments, but actually for the inputs of our guests. Just like what Jennifer and then Mark has been inputting and PP Jerry, ay nako, these are actually precious insights. So there goes, ladies and gentlemen. We have to go back and review what we are doing. And what we discussed in this episode, even your workplace, the physical workplace, and then even the processes on what you are going to do, review it, and come up with new guidelines. This is for you, and this is for your organization. And you may not know it, it will really improve productivity. Actually, when you review and come up with those guidelines, you're actually improving productivity and performance. And as regards to the culture, ang dami pong na input ni Pipi Jerry, ni Jennifer, ni Susan, at ni Mark. Try to look into that and start doing it. And this is actually for you. This is actually your contribution to your organization. And this is the time. This is the time, and you really have an excuse or a reason or a motivation to start developing a culture because it is changing. VUCA is actually being felt, the volatility, the uncertainty, the complexity, and the ambiguity. And then I even added driven. So it is there. So it's the right time that you come up with your audit. The point is, if you are actually lost, pardon my being blunt and being brutal, a lot of leaders and a lot of those in HR are very good in other facets of HR. But when it becomes to development, learning development, and organization development, we need to sit down. I know you can do it naman. Bawiin ko yung sinabi ko. I know you can do it. Pero sit down, plan about it, and do it now. It is most needed because time is actually changing and we are actually all expectant. We are all actually positive that time will come and then we are going to realize a new world. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo.